I get a lot of enjoyment out of the Flight Rising breeding minigame, and I've made a few videos about it, talking about breeding dream dragons and how to breed for gene and breed, which is the different type of markings your dragon can have and the type of dragon they are. However, something that's come up quite a bit in both the Discord and in comments is, how do you breed for colors? I go for colors first. I recommend that if you want to have a dragon of specific coloration, that's an easy thing to breed towards and accomplish on your own. Let's talk about how to actually get there, what that technical process is, and the tools that I use to get there. The goal of my Flight Rising breeding program for the last few years has been to breed dragons that are close to the color platinum. This is an easy goal to accomplish once you know how to do it, and I'm going to refer to this consistently, so I just wanted to be upfront. When I talk about breeding closer to platinum, platinum is a color. When you breed dragons on Flight Rising, you can predict a certain amount what traits their offspring will have. I do have a video that speaks to breed and genes. To go over color, we're going to have to discuss the Flight Rising color wheel. You can predict the range of color that an offspring will have from what their parents' colors are. This is the Flight Rising color wheel. This is the color wheel from the Wikipedia. To simplify, I'm going to get rid of the center rings. Those are just there for reference purposes to know what the original colors were and how the colors actually show up in different slots on the images. All we need to know is which colors are in which order in this hoop. If we take that breeding pair from earlier, we can now use this color wheel to predict what colors their offspring could have. Caldo's primary color is platinum, while Dolphin's primary color is ice. If you move from ice to platinum, you see that there's only one color between them. You go the shortest route every time you're trying to figure out what the color range is. And since there are 177 colors, there will always be a shorter route. There will never be a tie. In this color range, there are 3 colors: ice, orca, and platinum. And their offspring has to have a primary of one of those 3 colors. This color protocol is the same for primary, secondary, and tertiary. So once you have the logic down, you could apply it across the board. For instance, the father's secondary here is ice, and the mother's is smoke. So when we draw the line, we could see all of the colors that fall within that range. These arcs are pretty short. They could be quite large. They could span half the color wheel. However, I intentionally keep mine near to platinum. However, this should fully illustrate how to use the visualization of the color wheel and how to understand that logic there. This is just one abstraction of how the information could be understood. Once you understand the vague idea of the Flight Rising color wheel, which is how it's referred, you can then access that same information in different ways. For me, I mainly use the Flight Rising color schemer. I've used this for years, and this tool is incredibly invaluable. I have it bookmarked, and I use it on a weekly basis. Once you use the color wheel enough, I promise that you will memorize the order of the colors, because it is just so useful, and it's pretty intuitive that everything goes in pretty much rainbow order. This tool lets you input the father's colors and the mother's colors, and then it visualizes for you what that color range looks like for primary, secondary, and tertiary. It lets you toggle borders on and off. It lets you generate a URL, which is useful. I have the URL bookmarked for triple platinum in both the mother and father, so it's easy for me to do predictions and forecasting and to judge offspring. That's an interesting thing that I have that I use constantly. I find this absolutely invaluable. This is probably one of my most visited pages on the internet because of just how great it is. I'm so happy this exists. I've definitely given money to the creator before because, hey, I would get you a coffee because you've created something for me that makes my life so much better. Kind of a pro tip that you might want to consider, just so you don't get messed up in the scrying workshop or anything, is that on Flight Rising, the visualization always puts males on the left and females on the right. So when you're in nesting, the father will show up on the left and the mother will show up on the right. I find that it's useful to internalize that and make sure that I'm always putting males on the left and females on the right, so that when I go to assay bloodlines, I can easily not mix up a single sex pair. Because I cannot tell you how many times I've gone to the nesting grounds and I can't breed my dragons because they're both male or they're both female. So it's just very important to internalize this concept of females on the right, males on the left. If you do this enough, you will get it down, and you could pretty much do it on site when you're comparing color ranges of dragons. Like in my spreadsheets, I do a pretty good job of mentally figuring out which dragons could have platinum in their range, just because I've made it my mission so far to really focus on platinum. If you keep it up, you will get it down, and if there's any other questions, please let me know. I want to make sure that I'm really answering this question in a very useful way. So let me know if there's anything else that I should address. When I initially chose the color platinum as my goal in my lair, I was very steeped in this idea of your brand going before you and being very important. You need to shrink yourself down to be in this very easily understood box that other people could recognize your objectives and help you get along and see who you are and understand. I went with platinum because I have a strong love of precious metals that is deeply ingrained in me. I don't like diamonds very much, or any type of sparkly rocks, essentially gemstones. I don't really care, but I do love precious metals. And the idea of platinum just spoke to me as an agreeable color, B, something distinctive that not many other people had an interest in, so it would be very easily associated with me, and then C, it would carry the prestige of something that other people could understand easily, just because the concept of platinum is just a pervasive story that it is of worth. And for such a long time, my identity and presenting it has been about making it palatable to other people and making sure that I am giving rationale and explanation of how my life and the way that I lead it also checks all the boxes for everybody else. And for so long of my life, the majority of my life's identity was wrapped up in moving to New York City. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, which is by no means a small town. I've been to many small towns, and St. Louis is not one of them. There are small towns all around it. It's basically a major city in the Midwest. And there's this media message that's very ingrained in pop culture that your life is only really worthwhile if you move to one of these big cities. And I decided at the age of 13 that I was going to move to New York City and have a career in New York City. And that became my identity. And what I guess I'm trying to say right here is that it's easy to get lost in the grand expectations that other people have of what they perceive to be mile markers of success, and to lend yourself to it and lose perspective of happiness and what it means to get through every day. There's this idea that just because something's hard to do, it's inherently more rewarding to do it. And that's just not true. Some things are just hard. There's no reason to do something just because it's hard. There's no guarantee that it's going to be more rewarding. And when I decided to leave New York City, it just makes me question so much of my identity. And I picked platinum because it's a color I like. It's a neutral tone, and not many other people like it. it's associated with certain media messages, and it could be easily associated with me if I just put my flag firmly in the ground early enough and loud enough. My entire life has become this media message for something that I'm not really quite sure I believe, and that I feel like was built around addressing other people's concerns instead of my own internal priorities. It's truly a wild time to be alive for Julie Bonk, and thanks for sticking with me. I hope that you guys enjoy the content. Good luck breeding your dragons.